Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Coughlin-Tran. I'm the Director of Marketing for Ecolane, and here we have
Ryan Larson. I'm the Senior Vice President for Ecolane, and joining us today is a guy that I've known for a long time. And Vince Huerta, you have one of those names that when you say your name, you want to say your entire name, Vince Huerta, because it's a cool name and it just rolls off the tongue. So thanks for joining us, Vince. Where are you from?
I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, far west Texas, now in far east Texas. So I'm on the other side of the state.
That's awesome. Vince, you're with the company GoBus, which is also known as East Texas Council of Governments. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's the umbrella organization over the GoBus division that we operate here in East Texas.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? I mean, I know you've known Ryan and I here for years, but I'm sure everyone's going to want to know just a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure, no problem. So I've been in transit for maybe about 22 years now. 22 years. It's been quite a little run. Started originally in far west El Paso, as I mentioned to Ryan. Did some stuff on the Medicaid side of things, and went on to large urban. Then did some small urban and then rural properties. So I've kind of had a little bit of the different areas, mostly working and focusing on smaller urban and rural properties is really what I've focused a lot of in terms of my career. But I've been able to do some really fun stuff. I've worked with numerous softwares. Fleet sizes have ranged anywhere from 20, 30 vehicle agencies to several hundred vehicles when it comes to the large urban side of my experience. It's been a fun run, getting familiar with the different funding sources, getting familiar with the different projects that happen, from doing paratransit, doing fixed route, doing again rural services where you're more spread out. All of that combined into one has really given me a fun ride in terms of my experience of transit. Been able to work closely with TxDOT on numerous different projects and getting projects funded. So that's been a really exciting part of my career as well. Again, getting to know people, being able to serve Mrs. Jones, who's really just worried about getting from point A to point B, is really something that's driven me in terms of my career. So it's become my passion. I know that serving Mrs. Jones as a public servant is really important. So it's been something that has meshed very well in terms of what my thoughts and what my beliefs are about what I should be doing. So again, working for public sector, being able to do some of the neat things in transit has really been my focus, and I've really enjoyed it this far.
That's fantastic. Really great to hear. We all like to serve Mrs. Jones, and we've got to make sure she reaches all of her appointments on time. Vince, what do you like to do for fun? What do you do out there in East Texas?
It's the doctor has made it pretty clear that I've got to take care of myself. So I've learned to do a little bit of, just going on some trails, doing some walking, trying to stay as fit as possible. I do like some water sports. I don't think I'm good at water sports, but I've enjoyed them. So again, for fun, I like to take my mind off of some of the stressful stuff and just kind of sit back. East Texas is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's very green. I welcome anybody who makes an observation of this that come and visit, because it's really a good place to be. So again, most of my hobbies are really just around nature and enjoying the outdoors and just getting some sun.
It's really great to hear. How are you guys doing with the COVID-19 impact? How has that affected your system at all?
It's been very challenging in some areas, but I can tell you that I am blessed. Our staff is pretty amazing. They have adapted to it, what I consider to be fairly quickly. Folks have understood that, again, getting Mrs. Jones is really, really important. We are an essential part of the community in terms of getting people to where they need to go, from doctor's appointments to dialysis treatments, and certainly work and getting groceries and things of that nature. So it's been pretty interesting, but we were notified maybe a couple of days before the transition happened in terms of working off site. We were blessed to have had the technologies in place that allowed us to do this. I network with a couple of folks around the state and around the country that are dealing with the same situation. So I was pretty impressed that our system was able to transition fairly smoothly. We quickly went to taking calls from people working from home to getting the PPE out to drivers fairly quickly. We had some challenges initially getting a hold of some of the N95s, which we felt were extremely important for our folks that were transporting people, just because they were taking people to the doctor's facilities and so on, where there was the exposure was much higher. It's really important for me to mention that, it's been a little bit of a challenge at different levels to make the case that our drivers really are in the front lines. You typically hear it for the first responders, which I think are definitely in the front line and very important. But I think, we're those folks that are forgotten in terms of transit. When we did the numbers that early on in the game, we found really quickly, just based on the city of New York, that they had something like 17 deaths in first responders, which was police and fire, but yet they had 40 upwards of 40 deaths in public transit. So we took that serious, and we put it into our plan of action, and we provided plenty of PPE, or we were after the PPE to make sure that we got it out to our drivers in time to make sure that they were safe. And we wouldn't have to shut our services down. So something that really was pretty impressive on the fact that people continue to be out there in the front lines doing what we could. At times we were having to reuse some of the N95s in some situations, but again, doing what we could to keep people safe, both the people that are providing the services, which would be our staff, and the people that are using the services, which are the people that we're taking to those appointments, our ridership essentially. Interesting times, but something that we had to do. And again, we've transitioned fairly smoothly, and things have gone well. We haven't had a positive case. I'll knock on wood with that. So something we're very proud of. And again, we've now got barriers in the vehicles. And again, now we have a steady flow of logistics in terms of getting the PPE out to our different areas. We're very, very remote in some cases. So we've got 17 startup locations. You can imagine logistically speaking, what a challenge that is to make sure that we get out the PPE to our drivers and staff.
Well, I applaud you, Vince, you and your team for taking the safety, putting that first for your drivers, because that's super important. Vince, what makes Go Bus and the Longview area so unique?
Well, I think one of the, it dovetails onto the end of the previous question, I think, where again, we serving such a, it's a 14 county region, and the two urbanized areas in that 14 county region would be Tyler and Longview, but you've got all of these different counties, folks spreading out. Just an example, you've got folks that we're taking into the Shreveport area, which is Louisiana, and then in the eastern region, and then we've got the western region where the large metropolitan area would be the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we've got such a vast area where folks are just going in so many different directions. It really is challenging to make sure that we get folks and set up our system in such a way so that we can actually tackle some of the challenges that we have. Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Pettis could live right next to each other, but if one is headed to Shreveport and the other is headed to Dallas, you can see where that's going to be a challenge for our transit system. So I think there's a couple of things that I would cite. I would say number one is the staff. The staff really is dedicated to what they do. I can tell you that I'm not sure how much of the details I can share, but I can tell you that the folks that are part of our system are mostly retired, so they're in that susceptible age for, particularly in a pandemic. So I can tell you that the fact that they are committed to coming to work and dedicated to making sure that Mrs. Jones gets to her appointment is certainly a big part of that. But I think in addition to that, our management team is, / management and planning team is very aggressive in terms of seeking funding. So they identify the issues that we have, but they're very aggressive on finding, tracking down those dollars to be able to fund the solution in some cases where it requires that. So I think a combination of the management staff and the staff in general working together is something that really sets us aside, I think, from other organizations. I can tell you that, because of that hard work in the past, we did the numbers, but we have increased ridership by a little over 38% from 2017. If you take ridership up to Feb of 2020, which is right at the start of the challenge that we got from the COVID-19, you know, if you look at the ridership that we were able to increase, which gives us a clear sign that we were doing the right things, that we were moving on the right track. So I really do feel that the staff in general sets us aside, and the fact that they have that compassion, that empathy for the folks that we're transporting, I think is really important too.
Those are impressive numbers. Vince, you are a repeat user of Ecolane, so you used it at Concho Valley Transit District over in San Angelo as well. Tell us a little bit about why your agency decided to go with Ecolane at GoBus as well.
Well, I have used the software in the past. It's been very useful during my time in that area. It was something that was helpful for us. The reports we were able to draw, the fact, it's a tool that's been very helpful, I would say, in my career, just over a couple of different projects that we've had to do. But I can tell you that in making our selection here in East Texas at GoBus, we looked at numerous softwares, numerous solutions. We sent out staff to visit different locations that were using multiple different softwares for the same reason. We wanted to make sure that we found the right tool to overcome some of the challenges that we were facing. Again, with my experience, I certainly didn't want it to be just my opinion alone. It's really important to get buy-in from management staff, from staff in general, and even the end user, which in this case will be the passenger. You know, it's really, really important for us to get the buy-in from folks as we move forward in management. So I felt that there was some research involved. There was folks that, again, had to make some visits. So after doing about a year of some research and visits to different sites and different locations, talking to folks across not just the state, but across the country at different levels to figure out what was going to help solve our challenges that we had on the table, we really made the choice that this was the best tool. I can tell you that, again, there were some challenges involved there, but at the end of the day, having used the software for, you know, several months now, it's already a win-win. It's already a win-win. We're already seeing the improvement that the system has made as a result of moving forward with the purchase or implementation.
That's great. That's great. So you would say that the staff embraced the change and made the switch, and how did that go for you?
Well, let me be clear. I have yet to see a system that embraces change just right off the back. That did not happen. It was just a little bit of a struggle. People are used to doing things the way they do, so they were working with what they had, and clearly it was challenging. When I came aboard, I was asking for reports. I need to see our, you know, from on-time performance pieces to no-shows, and just ad hoc reports that we can pull from the system to help you know, put together a good plan of action for some of the challenges we were facing. And again, people were used to doing things in the way that we're doing them. And again, identifying those challenges, we went forward and we started doing the research. So in that process, there was a transition phase where folks got to talk to people, other management. Again, it wasn't just the general manager or the director of the organization saying, this is what we need, this is what's going to fix it. You know, I'm a firm believer that your best consultants are going to be the staff. You know, they know the problems and they know the solutions. You know, they may not know what specific tools can help them, but that's where, again, some of the experience and knowledge in my case after the 20 years, the 20-year run that I've had in this helps. So putting that together has really given us a win-win situation. So I can tell you that as we transitioned, part of it was, again, talking to those other management folks, people that were doing what they were doing, operations manager with operations manager, a dispatcher sitting along a dispatcher of another organization doing the same thing that we're doing, but making the observation and the comparison. They know what we had, and they looked at what Ecolane was able to do. So based on those visits, based on those observations and some of the reports that we're running, they realized on their own that, you know, it could be a helpful tool. I think the biggest selling point was when we implemented the tool and they saw it for themselves. They realized that, you know, this thing was going to help get us there, you know, a lot faster. It was going to help us resolve some of the issues that we had on the table fairly quickly. Again, you all got to meet some of my folks and maybe, you know, encountered some of that resistance. And again, I had the same thing as I came aboard. And like I said, I feel that they're the best ones to, you know, to really make those changes or to make the recommendations. And towards the selection stage of the process, they were ready to vote in Ecolane because of the some of the solutions that it was providing for other organizations, some of the stuff that it was able to do in other places. And again, once we launched it, I can tell you just on day one, we were in the 90s, you know, we were in the upper 90s for on-time performance, which is very, very impressive. I've done this before at other organizations. I've been involved in some transitions, and I can tell you that, you know, it's challenging when you go from one software to another, and certainly in an operation like ours where we've got 17 different starting locations. It was very impressive to see how it took off pretty much from the get-go. And since then, I can tell you that staff has really, really embraced just some of the reporting, some of the, I can, you know, unfortunately, I'm not a direct user, at least not a direct user often, and Katie is not available with me, but she took the time to show me a cleanup process that is done at the end of the day. So you guys know this better than I do, or what the terminology is for it, but there's a process that I've used throughout my years in transit, and I have to go back to make sure that the data is clean, whatever software they're using. And that process on the previous system we had was very challenging and time consuming. When they do that process in Ecolane, she literally took me and she did one client, just one client. She says, look at how easy this is. You click here and you click here, because the system's already suggesting to you what it thinks happened. And that makes it so much easier than to have to re-input the information and make the correction and so on. So that alone, she was smiling and said, this is going to make things so much easier. And it really has, because I'm getting clean data on a daily basis, if that's with the frequency that I wanted. But I know that my reports are pretty accurate. So when I've got to communicate something to our board or whoever it may be, I've got accurate information in a very quick turnaround.
If you don't mind,
that's great, Vincent.
I was going to say, if you don't mind, Vince, I've got a little story that Ryan has heard part of, but he hasn't heard, I think, the whole thing. I had met one of your staff members who is very, very happy with your legacy software at that point. And she said, you know, Kelly, if you don't mind me asking, what makes your software different from all the other ones? And I said, well, for me, it's two things. It's our real-time optimization algorithms that help set the schedule in real time and change day to day. And I said, it's our staff that make a difference, because they call in and they will check in and care. And she said, Kelly, I don't believe you. You're, you know, full of it, all that. So 6 months later, we had our call a couple weeks ago. And she said, Kelly, I have got to apologize to you, because you were absolutely right in everything you told me. And she said, and I'd like to add on there that you left something out. And I said, what did I leave out on there? And she said, you have to add your support team in there, because your support team has contacted me and answered me. They know my name. I know their names. I can call in anytime, day or night, and have an answer. And she goes, and that's what's important to me. So I'd like to say kudos to your staff.
Yeah, and I think that the key on this, Vince, is that you've touched on it in your discussions here today, is that it's a little different everywhere too. And you have different goals with each agency that you work at, and you know, kudos to you for picking up on, you know, the culture in at GoBus and what you needed to do to be successful there to make a transition from one solution to another, because the transitions aren't easy. And that's one thing that I emphasize at every location that we go to. We have to do this in partnership, and transitions are hard. And any company or software company that talks to you and says, hey, it's going to be a piece of cake, no problem, pause. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And as a former transit manager, I appreciate what we both have to do together to make that happen.
I think you're spot on, Ryan. Cheers to both of you guys for the work that you do, because again, on a serious note, I think in my experience and having worked with you all with Ecolane, it's, you know, I take myself back to the previous property. You all mentioned San Angelo. So being there, you know, it was, you know, I picked up the phone, got in touch with you. We were able to make a change there for the better and make some adjustments to the system. The customer service was great. Again, I shared that with my folks here because we were having some challenges with the existing folks, the existing company. That was difficult, but I can tell you, but by far, by far, in my experience, these transitions are challenging. You're absolutely right. There's nothing, it's like you mentioned earlier, there was no just, people were just not sold on it, and as we work to implement Misty, I have to say her name because I've heard her name so many times in the transition. Misty was just great. She was there. We had to do it remotely because of this whole COVID-19 situation, but amazing. I mean, amazing how she was there on standby, on video. We had her up on a big screen and folks transitioned, and she was there to essentially hold our hand through the entire process. Again, I can't say enough about your all's team to transition into the new system, because again, it's been challenging. We've got to adapt it to the culture and the way we do things in transit overall, because again, this is a gatekeeper. This is literally the bread and butter of our system. If we've got tools like Ecolane, we can, again, the sky's the limit. We can do a lot of things, and that's certainly been what's happening here, because I'm very impressed just at how motivated people are here when they look at the bars up on the screens. We've got some large screens in the dispatch room that reflect the on-time performance, the no-shows for the day. So now we set daily goals so that people know, hey, we had 10 no-shows yesterday. Let's try to get to 6. Let's try to get to 7. Every so on, there's some incentives that come along with it, a pizza party or something that we attach to it, again, that help us save money. They help us be more effective in the way we do things. And again, really for $50 worth of pizza, amazing, just because they've got a visual of what needs to happen. And it's been very helpful, at least this far.
That sounds great, Vince. It sounds like you're, going forward to meet and set some future goals for your system, some expectations for where you'd like it to go. Are there any other big future plans or goals you've got on your horizon right now? I know COVID has sort of thrown everyone for a little bit of a loop, but if you had any other future ones you'd love to share for us, that'd be awesome.
I think, I certainly want to follow after some of the larger systems in the state of Texas, and quite honestly around the country. There's so much transit. Again, I have a passion for this, and I can say that staff here is on the same boat. So we've really been able to make that connection. Just the fact that our folks, again, in the short time that I've been at the property, which is now about two and a half years, we've really been able to do some pretty amazing things. Like we had an overtime problem where it was upwards of about 150,000 a year that it was costing us. It's literally down to about 20,000 a year. Amazing, just down over 400%, and it wasn't, I can't take the credit for this stuff. It was simply educating folks on, okay, we put a little linear graph. I wish I had that for you. I'll forward it to you later, but it essentially reflected our expenses, which included that upward spike, of overtime. And then it reflected a downward spike of, ridership. It was just decreasing. So, I mean, in so many ways, there was just, there was a whole lot of action. But again, all of that has changed. Ridership has increased. Overtime has decreased. We've been able to put that money back in the pockets of one of our most precious assets, our staff. That's one of, that really is the biggest asset to the organization, our staff. So changing the culture to build that awareness, to educate people was certainly a very important piece of the puzzle. But now that they're aboard, now that they understand the importance of it, we're really going places in different areas. We've now, overcome that ridership challenge. It's increasing, of course. Right now we're in a pause because of the COVID situation, but I do really see it moving forward. I see us moving into maybe developing some commuter routes that'll again continue to increase ridership and get us to a better place, create this whole mobility on demand piece to the puzzle, where we could potentially add that to the fixed route we have in the area that we serve over in Marshall. But I think there's a couple of different things. I think we want to put different components. We've started using subcontractors as well. So maybe looking to the forward is looking how we can leverage that effectiveness through technology. We're excited to launch our new app that you all have provided for us. We're really, really excited. That's happening as we speak. That's going to be a new piece to the puzzle. I can't tell you how many times, we serve about 76 different municipalities, townships, what have you, in our 14 county region. So you can imagine how many folks I've got to answer to in terms of commissioners, county judges, city managers, and so on. But the point is, the question always comes up, why can't I have a Where's My Bus app or so on, and it's coming, it's coming. It was a matter of time, but it's coming. So again, I'm excited about that. So as we implement that, or as we launch that technology, I'm really excited in terms of looking to the future to continue to increase in ridership, and hopefully being able to give Mrs. Jones much better service where she has to wait 20 or 30 minutes, hoping to drop that down to 15 or 20 minutes. That's really what I'm looking to at the future. But again, the sky's the limit. We're excited about where we're going. I certainly appreciate your all's help through this process, because it's really helped me to be able to get the reports. I know on a daily basis exactly how many no-shows I had, and I can set a new goal for tomorrow. We had 10, we're moving to 8. I can tell you that just a matter of time, where staff will make it, create that sense of urgency. It'll help to change the culture utilizing that one tool. That's just one part of this. But again, I'm excited for it. So hopefully we'll see better things as we move forward.
Well, Vince, cheers to GoBus and your team. We're happy we can help you manage through key performance indicators and the deployment of the mobile app and just taking your system to the next level. You guys are a great customer, and we want to congratulate you on everything and wish you all the best through these tough times. Cheers.
Thank you, sir. It's nice talking to you guys. Appreciate you all.
You as well. I am Kelly.
And I'm Ryan.
And thank you for watching Real Time Optimization Live.